Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Frozen Frontier. How you doing today, Nick?
Hey Neil, yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. As you can see, there's only one player here, and that's not because everyone died from injuries sustained in the last battle. It's because we're doing a flashback episode, and this one is going to be about William and how he came to have his wife. What is your wife's name?
Melissa.
Good thing you actually know that one.
Well, or maybe I just made it up. Who knows? Maybe chat knows if they remember.
I think it's not made up. I think you know that very well.
Who would forget his wife's name?
Exactly.
You know.
Impossible. Okay. So let's take a look at our world map and try and orient ourselves here. Solwick is not actually where you're from. You're from a village outside of Solwick, I believe.
That's right. Yeah.
In the kingdom of Drekis, which spans quite a ways.
It was more like down here, I think. From
More
previous
down where?
flashbacks, like to the south of Solwick rather than to the north.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Because if you remember, those orcs were walking perpendicular to that road.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah.
There's our Zingu Knights. No, we want medieval town. So we are going to find out how you met your wife, which will be, that's way too loud, an interesting session to play through.
Oh, beautiful Melissa. How did we come up find such a wonderful vision?
Well, today's campaign starts with you being called back to your family's house from whatever nightly things that you were off doing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, you have a knight. You are officially Kel William.
That's right.
But your brothers inherited the family fortune. Well, not really fortune, but the family's money and the family's lands and titles and everything.
Yeah.
And your father has been sick for a little while. Came down with some illness and sort of didn't really recover. It's been dragging on for a couple of years, so your brother has taken over the family.
Okay.
And I think we've seen that your relationship with your brother is not particularly very good. Some might even call it bad.
Strained, I believe, would be the word.
It's a British word for it. In America, we just say it's a bad relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a little bit too arrogant and self-sure.
And you're a little bit too honorable and self-sure. So.
Yeah. It's not a good combo.
But, family is family. And you get called back, not by your brother, but by your mother. There's a note that gets delivered to you in her writing that says, William, you need to come home. And that's it.
All right, so I guess I'm in my chamber in the keep or in a house in the city.
Somewhere. I don't know where you're living these days.
There's a knock at the door. I open the door. There's a messenger or whatever. I take the note from him. I turn it over and notice the family seal. And I expect it to be my father's dad, right? Because he's not been well. So I get a letter knife and break the seal. Open it up, hold it up to the light coming from the window, and read this letter. And it says,
William, you need to come home.
Ah, okay. Well, I guess that's vague. So I roll it back up, slide it into my backpack, and I suppose I'll have to go and make arrangements to leave town for a while. So I'll probably spend the rest of today doing that.
Yeah.
And organize. How long is it? I've probably got. Do I have a horse?
You probably have a horse at this point. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe I'll. If the journey's not too long, maybe I'll set out today.
Yeah, I think it's probably Roderick's horse that you have that he ended up leaving to you upon his death.
Oh, all right. Faithful beast.
Don't kill this one.
No.
And off you go, back to your family's little town, your little village out in the woods. We visited this place before in your last flashback, so I'll gloss over the details this time around. But you make it to your family's estate. There are, the friendly guard at the door who you've known your whole life. He's a much older man now in his 60s, but he still keeps his position at the gate. Welcomes you in, helps, call over a hand to stable your horse, and gives a long look at you, kind of a nod, and goes back to his position at the gate.
All right, was that a disapproving look? I couldn't quite make it out.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so I give him I nod to him and say, Worcester, good to see you.
It's always a pleasure, Master William.
Keeping all right? Keeping things in order over here?
As orderly as apple pie.
Good to know. My family are okay, I trust.
I feel you should speak to them about that, sir.
Very well. Solemn look. I bid adieu to Worcester and trot my horse up to the stables. Dismount.
There's a stable hand there, a groom, that takes your horse for you and rubs it down and feeds it and everything, leaving you an opportunity to go inside.
All right. Have I got my armor on? Probably not.
Well, I don't know. Do you travel in your armor usually?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the road's dangerous, isn't it? There's orcs.
Mm-hmm.
So probably I'm wearing my armor. All right, yeah.
It's also a sign of your knighthood and your authority, so it makes sense to travel in it.
All right, so I dismount. I grab my bag off the back of the horse, haul it over my shoulder, and walk up the stone path to the front door of the house.
Inside, you find some small amount of commotion going on, but a servant quickly spots you and takes you back to your father and mother's bedroom.
Okay.
And as the servant leaves you at the door, you can hear the raised voices inside of your parents and your brother.
So it sounds like father's still alive.
Yes, and angry. Alive and angry.
Okay, so I guess I'll knock on the door and then open it. Like, I don't wait for a response. I just knock to announce my arrival and open the door and say, Mother, father, brother, I have returned as per your request.
They turn to look at you. Your brother whips around with a little bit of surprise and says, "What the hell are you doing here?" And then looks to your father in the bed and says, "Did you call him here? This is none of his business."
It's nice to see you too, brother.
Your mother speaks up and says, "No, Stephen, I called him here."
I'll go and take a step towards my mother and take her hand and say, it's fabulous to see you, mother. What is it you need of me?
Your brother is fairly pissed, turns on his heel and storms out of the room.
I shake my head and turn back.
Your mother comes over to you and gives you a bit of an embrace. Just a light one, don't want to be too touchy-feely here. And says, Your father has need of you.
Of course. Is father in the bed?
He's in the bed. He's awake, sitting up.
Okay. So I go and take a seat next to him. I assume there's like a little chair there.
Yeah. Oh, William. If only you had been born a few years earlier. We could have avoided all of these troubles.
He has a hot head.
And a dense head. And loose pockets.
Well, I wouldn't want to comment. He is soon to be my lord, after all.
Well, not if he has anything to say about it.
What do you mean?
Your brother has ruined the family.
Ruined?
Ruined. Almost.
What do you mean?
Well, I've been sick and unable to attend to matters. I turned them over to him, who I've been training his whole life for this, grooming for this. He's hot-tempered, but I've taught him well. At least I thought I had. In the year and a half or so, the 6 or 7 seasons that he's been running the family, he spent all the money and alienated some of our friends and allies. We're on the brink of financial ruin.
This is grave news. But I wonder how much I can help you. I only make a modest salary from the princess.
Yes. Yes. Well, there are other ways you can serve your family.
Tell me how.
There is a merchant with 2 daughters that I have arranged for you to meet and marry one of, respectively. He's a wealthy man, and the connections there would help keep our family afloat and promote them socially. It's a win-win situation.
You had a look at these daughters?
No.
Well, let's not call it win-win just yet.
Son, this is something your family needs of you, regardless of what they may look like.
Of course, I will do my duty. It's your right to choose my wedded.
Yes, well, my father chose for me a suitable match, and look how well it worked out, he says, gesturing to your mother.
Of course, yes, it's the way, the old way.
Right. So I will need you to meet with this man. He goes by the name of Richard. Of course, since he's not a noble, there's no family name to speak of.
Right. Richard. Where does this Richard reside?
His home is in Thickleglade proper, just a few days north from here along the road.
Okay. I know Thickleglade. I've traveled there before.
Good, good. Now, he has agreed to the union, but insists that he... Your father pauses over a word or two here. It insists that you show him that you are worthy of his daughters.
Seems to me that it should be his daughters proving they're worthy for us, but
I don't disagree, but I can understand. If I had a daughter, I wouldn't want just anyone to marry them, even if they were a noble or a higher noble, you know?
Noble blood doesn't necessarily make someone a good man.
Someone who puts family before position sounds like the right sort of person to join our family too.
Makes sense. Okay, well, I will visit this Richard, and I will gaze upon his daughters.
Wonderful. As you can see, your brother was not aware of this arrangement, and seems none too happy about it.
Why is he so upset?
Because he ruined the family, and you're having to fix it for him.
Well, it's hardly reason to be angry at me, but I suppose that's the way he is.
Yes.
Okay, well, would you have me set out straight away, or would you like me to stay for dinner?
Please stay for dinner. Your brother may not be too happy about it, but it's been some time since we've seen you last.
Stephen can complain all he likes. He's a spoiled child, despite his advanced years.
And from this, there's a bursting in from the door. It's your brother, Stephen, who clearly was listening at the door, because he starts yelling at you, "Oh, I'm not the spoiled child. You're the one who got everything that you needed. You got a knighthood right away. You got to go train with the bet." And he just goes on about how all the advancements that you got as the second son that he didn't get, and all the bullshit he had to put up with because he had to train to, like, take over the family and never had any personal freedom, and it's unfair, and...
Okay, I turn back to my father and say, I'm going to unpack my things, and I go to walk past Stephen. And if he's, like, blocking the door, I'll, just push him aside as I walk past. Right, I'm a lot bigger than him, so I'll just...
You give him a shove, which prompts shouts, "If you can't do that to me, I'm the head of the family! I'll have you arrested!"
All right, I ignore him, yeah. What a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll make my way up to wherever my room is and unpack my things, hang up my chainmail, and get dressed for dinner. I think I'll still wear my sword, though. Or a short sword, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Dinner's a little bit tense. Your father has to take his meal in bed. So it's just you, your brother, and your mother, who tries to mediate between the two of you and talk about old times and happy times and, remember that time when we went to the meadow and there were the deer and blah, blah, blah. Which might work for a little while, but,
Yeah, I mean, I try my best to get on with him. But if it seems like he's just got, he just hates me and he can't get over it, then at some point I'll just stop trying.
Yeah. It's a tense dinner, I think. And eventually it finishes and everyone packs up to go to bed and you'll get ready to go to Thickleglade in the morning.
So I guess when Mother goes to bed, I'll ask Stephen if I can have a word with him.
Yeah.
And, we'll go into the smoking room or whatever.
Sure.
I pour him a whiskey. I hand it to him and then I swig mine back and say, look, Stephen, once Mother and Father have passed over, this village and the surrounding lands are yours. I don't mean to interfere. You do what you want. You make whatever decisions you want. If there comes a day then you need me, then you can contact me. I don't hold this all against you. And then I'll finish my drink and go to bed.
Okay. He says nothing, sitting in his chair, just watching you leave.
Yeah. All right. So I sleep and I wake up at dawn. I'll go and check in on my father and mother, say goodnight to them, and then go and gather my horse from the stables and head out on the road.
Okay. When you find your father and mother, your mom's dabbing little flecks of blood off of your father's cheeks and kind of tending to him. But when you appear, they quickly hide the bloody rag, and he pushes himself up in bed proper to say goodbyes.
I do my best to make out like I didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
And I say goodbye to them and embrace my father before I leave, since it could be the last time I see him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I leave.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On the road we go. So let's make some dice rolls here as you head north towards Thickleglade. It is a painless and easy journey along the road.
Mm-hmm. Take a couple of days.
Yeah, no, that's ugly. Takes a couple of days to get there, but not too problematic. You arrive in Thickleglade fairly easily.
Good.
Yeah.
What's Thickleglade like as a town?
It is a kind of sprawling town, mostly made out of wood buildings. There are a few stone here or there. There are no walls around it, and it kind of just town becomes farmland fairly seamlessly. It looks like the sort of place that might have started as a collection of farms that built a central market, and then it just grew and began to overfill into the farmland around it, which is a little bit unusual for the area of Drekis, which is so heavily wooded.
Oh, okay. But it's a smaller town than Solwick.
I believe... Right? I can actually give you numbers on that.
But Solwick's the county seat, isn't it?
It is the county seat. So it seems to me like it would probably be larger.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Okay. So then riding through the farmland that eventually becomes slightly more urbanized, I just wander towards the center of town until I pass a guard of some description.
Sure. You find one quite quickly.
Greetings, my friend. I'm a knight from Solwick. I was hoping to find a tailor, if you have one in town.
The town guard gives you a half salute. and promptly points you in the direction to a group of tailors. There's a single street on which all the tailors in the town reside, so that way it's very easy for everyone to go and shop around.
Like Savile Row, okay.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a famous road in London where all the best tailors are.
Ah, then yes.
Like Savile Row. Okay, so I thank him, and I trot off towards this street of tailors. And I keep an eye out for like where would you house your horse in a city like this? I suppose you'd first go to an inn room.
Yeah, there are stables, or you can go to an inn, and a nice inn will have stables there. But there is also like general housing stables, kind of like a parking lot for your horse, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know where this guy lives, and I don't know if I'm planning to stay there. So it's probably best that I get an inn room, just in case that's inappropriate. So I guess I'll stop at one of the tailors and dismount.
Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning. And what a fine morning it is for you. Are you looking for some new threads, maybe some new shoes? We do cobbling too.
Well, maybe all of the above. I'm here to visit my future bride. I need to make a good impression.
This is a very special day. Coming into Haynes, and Haynes. We got all of your clothing needs taken care of right here.
All right. I head into his... is there anywhere I can leave my horse?
You know what? Let me get my youngest son, Haynes III, to take care of that for you.
Okay,
and he
fantastic.
waves for someone who comes over and takes your horse and holds it outside while you come in.
Great. So I leave my horse with Haynes III, and I wander into the shop.
All right. It's your standard tailor shop. There's bolts of clothing hanging from all over the place. There's a few counter spaces where there are people cutting out patterns or marking them with chalk. There's people sewing back and forth. There's even a loom kind of like in the back section where someone is working on a very specific pattern.
It's a nice place you've got here, Haynes.
Well, thank you. My father's father's father left it to my father's father, who left it to my father, who left it to me.
A family of tailors. Good. I must be in good hands. Generations worth of knowledge.
Absolutely.
I'm afraid you'll have to fit something to me specifically, as I'm not an average build.
I can see that there's not much average about you. So let's take some measurements here. And he pulls out a cloth tape and starts wrapping it around your shoulders, and like gets a little chair so he can reach up all the way high enough, and measures this, measures that, and then starts asking you kind of like abstract questions like, how do you feel on a rainy day?
You know, it's a hindrance for battle. It's bad for ranged units. And
makes sense. Right. Okay. And what did your heart do when you heard that you were going to be married? Did it skip a beat, or did it sink down low?
Well, the circumstances of this arrangement are not the most fortunate for my family, so it's... I mean, I answer all his questions, like, matter-of-factly and, you know, without too much embellishment.
Right. He takes these as notes and then goes and confers with just a whole little tassel of people. And then they set about to work on things, and he comes back and says, well, for you, we will put all of our other work on hold. It's always nice to have the equestrian class visiting our establishment. So, come back in 5 hours, and we should have something for you.
Ah, great news. Okay. I was going to ask you to recommend an inn if you could.
Yes. He looks you up and down one more time and goes, for you, I would recommend the Golden Cup.
The Golden Cup.
The Golden Cup. It's just down the main drag a little ways. It'll be the third left on your right, beyond yonder hill.
Thank you. Could you have your boy return my horse?
He's standing outside with it right now.
I shall see you later tonight, then.
Right. And he bids you adieu and goes back to work, busily cutting out pieces of fabric to make you something nice to wear.
All right. So I think I'm going to head to the inn, and I think my plan is to... You know, I've been traveling today. I think I'm going to stay the night in the inn. Relax from traveling, get cleaned up. get my clothes, and then head there in the morning.
Okay. So the day passes. You can get your clothes. They come back with these like bold black, white, and gray patterns on them that are, how do you want to say? They like evoke, or I shouldn't say evoke. They sort of highlight the strength of your build by using the contrast of black and white to like emphasize certain areas and diminish others, and then the gray kind of blends it together so it's not such like a stark pattern.
Great. So I will. I don't wear this. I want to go there in my chainmail, but I'll change into it for dinner or whenever that happens. So I'll just hang it up in the room in the inn. Mm-hmm. I try and find out then. I need to find out where this guy lives, right? Because I don't actually know.
Right.
So I'll go and ask the barkeeper at some point if he knows of a merchant named Richard in town.
He nods. Yep. Big source of income for Thickleglade, actually. A lot of transportation, a lot of intra country transportation.
Is he a good man?
Couldn't say. He's a good merchant. I never met the man myself. He lives in the center of town, actually.
Okay.
If you find the main market, you'll find his house that opens out into the market itself.
Thank you, sir. I hand him a silver coin and pay my tab. I say, can you hold the room for me? I may need to stay here tonight.
Of course.
All right. If I'm not here by sundown, feel free to empty it and clean it.
He gives you a smile and a wave.
Okay, so would I approach this guy's house on my horse? I guess I would. So I get my horse from the stables. I want to pay someone at the inn to come and deliver my clothes there in a few hours.
To the house?
Yeah, to Richard's house.
Sure.
And then I will suit up in my chainmail, equip my weapons, and then trot down the street, lording above the peasants, but not really. But, you know,
but
actually.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine. That's your position.
Yeah, and I will wander into the grounds of Richard's house, armor gleaming, sword at my side.
All right. Well, it is a market square that he's in. There's people selling frickin' everything, from chickens to spices to fresh vegetables to raw ore of various different types. You know, there's cows for sale. There's everything.
Okay, cool. I mean, I don't look for him in the market. I look for his house.
Right. You can easily see the house. It's one of the only buildings here that looks like it would be residential.
Okay.
And yeah. it kind of has this prominent position on a corner where the front door is on the corner and the rest of the house goes back a little bit and around. There's no family name or family crest over it, but there is a nice like gateway made out of brass.
All right. Is it closed?
No, there is a servant standing out front, like a footman servant.
Is he armed?
No. Footman as in like below a butler, not like a armed soldier.
Yeah, okay. Well, I approach him on the horse. Mm-hmm. Say,
he gives you a stiff bow and says, and before you get a word out edgewise, says, Kel William, I presume.
Correct, yes. I'm here to see Master Richard.
Yes, we have been expecting you. May I take your horse?
Of course, yes. I dismount and I say, there should be a boy coming from the Golden Cup later today with formal attire for me to wear for dinner. Can you please have it brought up to my room if I'm to stay?
He nods, and then holds your horse and its reins while you can step out.
Okay, I ask for directions to wherever Richard is.
Sure. He holds your horse temporarily while opening the door and motioning for one of the servants that are walking around on the inside to take you to a waiting room and then inform Richard and so forth and so on.
So how rich does this guy look? Like, how fancy is this house he's got?
we're talking like an order of magnitude more than your family.
Okay, yeah.
He's definitely, if he's not the wealthiest person in Thickleglade, he's gonna make the like Fortune 5.
Yeah, all right. So I'm impressed and seem assured that this should help my family.
Mm-hmm.
I worry that Stephen will just wash it all down the drain.
That is a real concern, actually.
Well, there's not much I can do about it, so I head to Richard's whereabouts office or waiting room.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I sit down.
You sit, and a few moments pass. Not too long. You have just enough time to sort of make yourself comfortable and take in the displayed wealth in this room, which is fairly impressive. The cups here are all made out of ivory. The chairs, cushions, and couches have like a nice crushed velvet to them. There are rich rugs on the floor. A fireplace made out of probably granite or some other sort of nice hard dark stone that has been engraved with relief of some sort of trade happening. And has the prominent symbol of Quantarius, the god of trade, emblazoned in it right over the center.
All right.
A few moments later, though, the door opens and in walks your potential father-in-law. Richard is a medium-sized man with a thick crop of black hair, dressed fairly nicely with a half cape coming down his back, who steps in and opens his arms wide and says, "Ah, William, my boy."
I stand up then. I was thinking of removing my gauntlets to shake his hand, but taking the cue, I step in for a reserved embrace and say, "Richard,"
meets you enthusiastically, and maybe even like a little bit improperly. You know, he's kind of ignoring your rank of nobility and knighthood here, but he's so enthusiastic to see you, he just kind of gives you a tight embrace.
It's good to see you. I've heard many great things, and it's a lovely home you've got.
Thank you, thank you. I, too, have heard wonderful things about you from your father and mother. Is it true that you squired under Roderick himself?
I did. I did for many years.
What an honor that must have been. I have always been a fan of his tales. As a young boy, I grew up hearing about him, even when, you know, I'm maybe a few years older than you, but even I grew up hearing stories of Roderick. Back before he was who he was, of course. It was just the local boy going out doing great things.
He was a fantastic knight. It's a great loss for the kingdom.
Truly. Truly it is. Well, I suppose you would like to see my daughters before much else gets going on here. I know how hot-blooded a young lad like you could be.
If that's how you wish to proceed, then of course.
I was simply saying it for your benefit, but if you have no interest, then sure, let us talk business instead.
I thought maybe I could. I've arranged for clothes to be sent for dinner. I thought maybe I could meet them then.
Perfect, wonderful. He goes back to the door and says something, closes the door again to one of the servants.
Okay.
So, William, you don't mind if I call you that, since we're about to be family and all, do you?
Of course not. It's fine.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I have two daughters. Their names are Melissa and Clarissa. Their mother's idea. I fought heavily against it, but, you know.
Beautiful names.
They are. They really are.
Your wife has great taste.
I like to think so. She did volunteer to marry me, so she must have some amount of taste. Whether it's good or bad, I can't quite tell, but she's done well with our children. Wonderful woman. Speaking of children and family and taste and all that, as happy as I am to have you as a prospective son-in-law, I am a protective man, both of my business interests and of my family, which at some point are difficult to tell apart. And while you are certainly a strong and talented knight, I have a rule that I don't enter into business with anyone that I haven't tested in some way.
I see. And what test is it you have planned?
A test of character. Clearly, you're strong enough to defend my daughters if any harm were ever to be threatened to them. But I would like to see how you behave, who you are as a person on the inside. Are you a brute, or are you a gentle soul?
Very well.
Wonderful. Well, I have a business meeting I need to attend, and I was hoping you could come along with me, so you could see how the family works, and so you could we could spend a little bit of time one-on-one getting to know each other before we join our houses proper.
I ignore the fact that he's not really a house because he hasn't got a house name, but
Yeah.
I say, of course, that's it's quite agreeable. I would like to get to know you as well, Richard.
Excellent, excellent. Dinner will be served in about an hour, so why don't we have the servants bring us some drinks and play a few rounds of darts until dinner is ready.
Sounds very nice. I shall. I stand up and like take off my sword and lay it down on a table or something, and then sit back down.
He heads to the door again and calls the servant on the other side to bring you guys a game of darts and some drinks and whatever else you guys need. And they set up a dartboard over the fireplace and bring over a bunch of heavy darts.
Nice.
And you guys get to play. Is there anything in particular you are looking to ask your potential father-in-law?
I try and work out what kind of business he's in. Like what kind of goods does he trade?
I started by trading ore. I got my start in a very fortunate way. There was an overturned cart filled with iron ore that had been attacked on the road just north of here. Probably by kobolds or goblins or some stupid creature because they didn't take the iron ore. It was just lying there, so I packed it up in my little cart because at that time I was just a simple farmer, and brought it into town and made my first sale, and then I took that money and reinvested it in a larger cart and a horse, an ox really, and a couple of soldiers, and took off to get me some more. Went all the way to the Iron Ridge. It was a dangerous journey, mind you. We almost died a few times, but filled it up and brought it back, and one thing led to another, and 20 years later, here we are.
It's an impressive rise to power, or to position at least.
One not easily or frequently accomplished, I know. But I think Quantarius has always been watching over me. He's been a good luck charm to me ever since I was a young boy.
I wish my brother had your industrious qualities. However, perhaps if he did, I wouldn't be here, so...
Yes, I have heard your brother, of your brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, your mother wrote to me about him a while ago.
The primogeniture laws in our society sometimes lead to bad rolls of the dice. I'm afraid that this generation of my family has rolled poorly.
Well, I can't speak for your brother, having never met him, but you seem to have turned out quite well thus far.
Yes, I prefer to focus on the knightly virtues and my duty to the crown. I try not to worry too much of my land holdings or my claims on various titles, since that's always been my brother's realm.
Well, the knightly virtues and titles are the reason why I opted to ask for my daughters to marry you instead of him. Originally,
Yes.
your mother reached out asking if your brother would like to, if marry, my daughters would like to marry your brother. But after poking around a little bit, I decided that would be a bad fit. As I said, I'm very protective of my children.
A wise choice, most surely. Still, I don't have much of a hand for darts, but I'll give it a go. My arms are very long. I can almost reach the board. And I take some throws. I'm going to make some dex checks.
Okay.
See how well we can do here. So I'm level 2, so I'm going to get a +1. 12. I mean, not that great, really. 2 12s, a 6, a 5, and a 4. So I think I probably got handily beaten at darts.
Yeah, definitely. He gets like a 10, a 14, a 15, a 21, and a 24.
So once he hits his 180 and then double tap to win the game or whatever, I turn around and smile at him and say, "This is why I tend to stick to the sword. Strength, not dexterity, is my gift."
Simply a matter of practice, and I've been practicing for many years here.
Very well. I don't mind to lose to a master.
Mm-hmm. So eventually you guys are seated for dinner. Two of his daughters his 2 daughters are brought in, but they only make a cursory appearance. They come in both dressed quite nicely in like a presented to your new husband sort of way.
Right.
After the 2 of you are already seated, and he motions them over to stand beside and behind him. And he motions to his one daughter and the other and says, "This is Melissa and this is Clarissa." One of the daughters, and since we already know who you're married to, I'm actually going to keep which one's named which kind of a secret, and I want to leave it the opportunity for either one of these people to be the one that you end up marrying, so I'm not going to actually direct their names right now.
That makes sense.
The older one of them steps forward and goes, "Oh, father, he's much more handsome than you let on," and begins to like walk towards you and like drapes a hand on your shoulder and walks past you and kind of like gives like a real look at you, and then comes back and says, "Is he this one? Can we keep him?" The other daughter is a little bit more quiet and reserved. Okay. Her shoulders are a little bit slumped. Her posture's not that great, although she's dressed very finely. And she keeps glancing towards the door the whole time.
Okay, she doesn't seem interested.
She seems really uninterested in being here. She's the slightly younger one of the 2.
Are they attractive?
Well, roll me 3d4 plus 6.
Here's hoping, eh?
So the older one is a 14, and the younger one is a 12.
The one who's more interested is better looking. Great.
Yes.
All right. Well, I make all the right noises and use my etiquette proficiency to say the right things, kiss the right hands. You know.
Right. Their father, talks you up for a little bit. Talks about this. He was squire to Kel Roderick, whose stories you grew up hearing, and he's done this and that, and there's something about these orcs over here, and yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire time, whenever he speaks of you, he speaks in your full name, Kel William. What's your last name?
Marshall.
Marshall, that's right. Kel William Marshall of this village south of Solwick. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Okay. He says all the right regalia. This guy's got a bit of a silver tongue, hasn't he? I get the feeling that this is all very, very well thought out on his part.
The older daughter, who seems more interested, comes and kind of like sits on the edge of the table next to you and says, "So, tell me one of the stories of your great adventures."
Oh, it's stories such as that aren't for one for the delicate ears of women, I'm afraid. Maybe...
Nonsense. I have heard all of the stories. I love to go down to the theater and listen to whatever is being played on stage, and you know what the local theaters can be like.
Yes, of course. Well, I try and think of a less gruesome story than murdering orcs. And, like, my life's not particularly that appropriate for women. And I don't know, I haven't got a good story on hand, but I'll maybe tell the story of, like, a jousting competition or a melee in a tournament or something like that. And, where I, like, I don't know, defeated the champion or came out on top, and then I presented her my rose to one of the women in the crowd, but she was nowhere near as beautiful as you. If only you'd have been there that day.
There is blushing and giggling coming from the one seated on the table beside you. The other one begins to impatiently tap her foot.
Okay, I don't really have desire to force this girl to marry me if she doesn't like me. So I pretty quickly start pushing most of my attention on the older daughter.
Right. Richard asks if you have any questions for either of them. Surely you must have some sort of question. If you could ask a question to someone who you will be arranged to marry, wouldn't you want to know something about them?
I care most about the pureness of their heart, and they both seem very well raised and good people. What is it you look like? And I assume at this. Can I assume at this point which one's which?
No.
No. Okay. So I say to the older girl, I don't. And what is it that you would look for in a husband?
To the younger one?
No, the older one.
The older one. Well, in a husband, someone who's strong and can care for me and my family, protect us against other dangers of the world. Someone who is virtuous and always will remain true beside me. A man who is caring and gentle, well-read, well-traveled. Let's see, he would need to have his manners intact, so I don't have to remind him at the dinner table not to lean on his elbows, and she throws a look to her younger sister with this. Let's see.
All right.
Someone with wealth, so that we can live comfortably. Someone with status, so that we can be well-arranged in society. Someone who knows to speak up for our family and move us forward, politically speaking, but at the same time isn't overbearing and isn't too aggressive. A strongly assertive person with a gentle heart and a combative build. Let's see, I would want a husband who knows his place in society but is not content with it, and someone who treats me like a princess. I would want a husband who can and the father says, that's quite enough right now, darling. He doesn't need to see the long list.
You've clearly given that a lot of thought. And and how about you? I say, turning to the younger girl.
I would ask that he have at least a little brain and isn't entirely muscle.
Of course. Well, looks can be deceiving, I suppose. And I awkwardly sort of make further conversation with Richard at that point. I was kind of pretty set on the older girl, but that whole list thing kind of threw me off a little bit. I didn't like that being treated like a princess kind of thing, right? There's only one princess in my life, and that's Princess of Solwick.
Oh...
So I maybe spend a bit more time trying to get to know the younger girl better, and I want to find out, what books she likes to read. If she's
histories of Drekis, Eridon, Matava especially.
Do you find why do you find Matava so interesting?
Because it is so unlike any other place. In Matava, all the men are born into slavery.
I was aware of that, yes. Would you see that in Drekis? I laugh.
No. Slavery is a most abhorrent system. It's wrong on every level. And the older sister speaks up and says, well then, what are we supposed to do with all the captured citizens of war? Just let them go so they can come back and fight us again? You haven't really thought this through.
Is Matava's the one that's ruled by the dragon, right?
No, Matava, that's Mystria.
Okay. I don't say that then. Or maybe I do, but that'd probably put her off me. Right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. She kind of cocks her head to the side and politely corrects you, saying, my good dear knight, Matava is the trading kingdom due east. Mystria is the one ruled by the red dragon due north.
Ah, yes. I tend to try and avoid both, so I must have got them confused.
Well, neither are good places to live.
Especially not for me.
No.
So, do you research social histories of Drakus or military history? I'm no historian, but I tend to focus on the military side. There's much to be learnt of captaining and generaling and study of old battles.
I feel that the kingdoms have been shaped by war, but that it tends to be not as influential as some folks would like to think. I think the social and economic policies of the rulers tend to be more influential than whatever battle happens to be won or not. At the end of the day, it's the rulership and leadership that makes the decisions, and whether one town is in one person's hands or another is fairly inconsequential.
Perhaps, if we'd have lost the war against Akuba, things would have been a lot more different, though, I'd say.
We'd be speaking a Kuban, but things would probably remain much the same.
I'm not so sure about that. They have a much different culture than us.
He remains silent.
I don't actually know much about Cuban culture.
You're absolutely right, though. But she seems intent with the issue. Your father, sensing the awkwardness in the room, says, "Now, ladies, William and I have a few issues to discuss. We'll be leaving in the morning, and we will be back hopefully within a month, hopefully less. And at that point, well, he will get to pick one of you."
Assuming that this is their cue to leave, I stand up and kiss both their hands, and kneel down, gaze up at them, kiss the hand, say it's nice to meet you, Melissa. It's good to meet you, Clarissa. May you fare well in the weeks to come.
Yeah. And they leave, and he says, well, they are certainly a handful, each in their own right. But
Indeed.
What child isn't? I'm sure you were a handful for your parents as well.
Yeah, well, they sent me away to Squire for a night. I think maybe I was too much of a handful for them.
Ugh, maybe I should have sent my daughters away. Let me tell you, you wouldn't look at it, but both of them are very demanding at times. Having to scour the local all the towns for books on various arcane and ridiculous subjects, or find a suitable guard who can keep up with the other as she flounces around town, going to parties and theaters and whatnot. It's stressful work. Sometimes I think I want to marry one of them off just so I don't have a heart attack.
It's interesting. My brother and I are very different in the things that we find interesting, and it seems that your family is the same. Say, you wouldn't happen to have any sort of harder drinks, would you?
That doesn't bode well for our future family arrangements, but sure.
I like a stiff drink after dinner.
He calls over another servant. You've noticed like 5 or 6 different servants for a house that seems to only have 3 people. He's made no mention of his... Other than that first mention, he's made no further mention of his wife, and she hasn't made an appearance at dinner or anything. But there's easily 5 or 6 servants in the house, plus the guy on the outside.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, they bring you over a couple of stiff drinks, some nice crystal vases filled with more, and he brings out one of the servants also brings out a chess game, and he immediately sets it up. And I think we're gonna take our break here, and when we come back, we will see you guys on your father-son bonding trip.
Yeah, all right. Sounds good.
See you in a bit.